All right, so we're here with Nico Montanez, and pretty excited to have you on the show today. Nico is an ASICS athlete, and he is training with the Mammoth Track Club under Andrew and Dina Castor. So we're excited to hear some more about that. And Nico, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. Appreciate
Yeah.
it.
So what do you want to start off,
I
Megan?
love personally like going in the way back. Like I'm
Ooh,
talking
bring it back.
childhood, growing
Oh,
up, where you got started in running. So tell us a little bit about that.
yeah. Wow. Well, for me, it started in high school, so I guess not too far back as a freshman. I played football like my whole life. I bounced around from like cornerback, safety, and then when I got to high school, I had this ambition, this lofty dream to play football. But my cross country coach had other plans. Um, And he was smart because he was the PE coach too. So he kind of like saw me run around the fields and playing soccer and all that stuff. And so that's kind of like how he introduced himself to me. He's like, "Hey, I think you'd make a great addition to our team." And I was like, "What's cross country?" I didn't
What?
know what that was. So I just thought that was really funny, and I told him I'd think about it and sleep on it. Um, and then my two good friends at the time were joining or trying out for the team, and they kind of like persuaded me also. So that conversation with the coach at the time and the PE coach and my two friends kind of swaying me, that kind of like came together. And then, my first run with the team actually was like a 3 mile run, something really small and light. And we had one of the upperclassmen lead us. But come to find out, he had no idea where he was going. Like he had been on the team for like 3 years, and he didn't know any of the route. And so me and my two buddies were like stopping and going, stopping and going, stopping and going. Um, and then I remember like the last time we had to stop maybe like 4 times in the run. I remember being like kind of mad, not at him, but like it was like, hold up, I'm actually feeling really good. I later come to find out it's like endorphins and whatnot. But I just felt like mechanically really good. I felt just really alive. And that's kind of like how I fell in love with running. We eventually made it back from our 3 mile run, thankfully. But I remember telling like the upperclassmen, like, hey, if we stop one more time, I'm just gonna keep running. I don't know where I'm going, but like if you don't mind, because I loved that state that I was in. I couldn't describe it,
Whoa, so
but
you never had a time
um,
in your life where you hated running,
yeah.
you just liked it?
Just yeah. Well, I guess maybe like
Sprint.
running in football because it was like yeah, sprints or
Right.
punishment, I guess if you will. Yeah. So that's kind of how it was viewed. But then it was like running for this 3 mile run was like, oh, this is actually kind of fun, and I'm feeling good. Like it was a weird connection, but just loved it from there. From there, it really blossomed, I guess.
So
Yeah.
did you just totally transition then out of football and straight into cross country and
Whoa.
never looked back?
Yeah. Never looked back. Yeah, I had such like a good foundation on the team, trusting my coach, trusting the guys on the team, seeing like their success. Um, the coach's son was on the team. I just kind of felt like already a part of like something bigger than me when I had joined, and so. I definitely thought about football, but we went to a small school. I mean, it was 130 kids total.
Whoa.
So I didn't know like if the football team would exist in a year or 2 years,
Wait,
and sure enough, it
how do you
didn't.
have any? Hold on. How
Yeah.
do you even have enough players for more than a sport, let alone a football team?
So it was funny. We teamed up with another school from our
Okay.
division, and it was kind of close. I went to a private school, and we teamed up with the school of deaf and blind.
Oh, whoa.
And so like they joined our rank. Well, we joined their ranks, they joined our ranks, and we like it was cool. It was like, them teaching us how to sign language, um, just like things like that, like participating, and they were great athletes.
Whoa.
Um, but so that was like all happening, and like I was running and it was like, well, I love running, but I also want to be part of the team. So it was weird. Uh, but yeah, just immediately fell in love with running. So I just kind of pursued that a little more, just because of I just knew that feeling and I wanted more of it.
Wow.
So obviously you love it, but when did you first have success, or did you immediately know like, hey, I'm pretty good at this?
We went to Flagstaff for our first meet. I believe it was called like Four Corners or something in high school. I don't know that I finished last on the team, but I was pretty close. I think I was on the JV squad, and I ran like 23 minutes. I definitely had to walk, and I just was like fired up after that performance. It was very weird. It was like I still knew that I loved it, but I wasn't very good. Um, and so like yeah, that was like it was a weird experience and knowing that I wasn't good, but like knowing that there were guys on the team better. So like I think if they could do it, I could do it too. A second time was when my coach had me run by myself on this on this bike path, and he had me run like 4 laps, I think, or something. It might have been a mile. And he gave me some like old beat up New Balance shoes. I mean, these things were old, like no support. And he like grabs me after the 4 laps and he goes, "You know how fast you're running?" And I was like, no, I like this feeling. And he goes, "You're doing a 7 minute mile." And this is when I was just in like brand new to running. And I think like seeing his face like light up, like just was like, oh, I think this could
Uh,
be something really cool, you know?
that's cool.
So like those experiences both, I think, yeah.
So,
So
so you start running. What year was that when you started running cross country for high school or running in general?
2008.
Okay, and you were a
Yeah,
junior, or how old were you? And
I was a
oh, you were a
freshman.
freshman at the
Yeah.
time. Okay, gotcha.
Hmm.
So,
Yeah.
walk us through kind of your high school career and then where you went to college and everything like that.
Yeah, so yeah, obviously, so I went to a small Catholic high school. It was St. Augustine Catholic High School. Yeah, recruited on the team, and then from there, high school was a blast. I had great coaches. Ended up being really successful, like with the program. Our coach, he passed away in 2014 from brain
Mm.
cancer, but in that time frame, he for 130 students, we had, I believe, 24 state champions, if I'm not
Whoa.
mistaken. And so, like, he did such a phenomenal job with us. And so, like, again, just buying into the program. But yeah, like that was an awesome experience for me, and I ran what I thought was really awesome times for my coach. Um, but I wasn't good enough to go to D1. There was a couple programs that were interested, but no one really offering me much. And so I decided to go the junior college route.
Okay. Uh,
And I decided to go, yeah,
real quick, I'm gonna walk back to the what you said about your coach, and obviously,
yeah.
he did a pretty great job with you and your teammates for a long period of time. But what are some of the things that stand out to you that made him such a great coach?
His love for it was very ironic because we ran very fast, what we thought was very fast for him in our division, but he cared more about like who you were as a
Mm.
person. Um, so that's what it was. It was like buying into the program and like caring for your brother and sister more than like anything else. Um, so again, he passed away in 2014. I was in junior college. I was on my way to nationals, um, for cross country. And I remember having a phone call with him like the week before he passed away. And before I could even like get a word out, he didn't care about like running or like what I was competing in. He was like, "How are your grades?" And like, "Are you going to confession?" So I'm
Mm.
Catholic. Um, and that just like instilled in me like everything that I've been taught from day one. He cares more about like my well-being than winning some championship. And he developed such like a family at the high school, and like that's really what I think we would figuratively die for each other out there on the
Mm.
track, or go above and beyond whatever he asked, and so he just made us believe in that brotherhood that was just so awesome for like all of us.
Yeah.
um but yeah, I think that's what did it, because it was like it's just infectious. It's like when you smile at somebody, it's hard for that person not to smile back.
Proof.
It was just so much love and so much like so much compassion, and yeah, just you could tell like yes, we were running fast, but it was like how are you doing as a human being? So that's I think that's what made him really successful.
So you're at junior college. Talk to us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so again, I wasn't quite great coming out of high school. Like my PRs were 4:28 for the mile, I think 9:46 for the 2 miles. So I was like, okay, I need a lot of work, but I'm like very excited to pursue whatever comes my way. There was a junior college in Phoenix, um, Paradise Valley area, and they had just come off winning the national championship. And so I was like, I want to join that team. And they were returning like six of their guys. So I was like, anywhere where I can be like the small fish and just really just learn and chase after these guys and just, really just give myself. And I actually went to a cross country camp my senior year, and that the director of the camp, the coach of the camp, is the coach of that team as well. And so that's kind of how like that connection got started. And so I joined that program, and we finished third my freshman year. I believe I was seventh man. And then my sophomore year, which was 2014, we finished, I believe, seventh or eighth. But a lot of learning lessons. Again, it was like I didn't run anything fast. In fact, I think I went backwards. Um, Maybe some people, like maybe my coach doesn't believe that, or people will say I didn't, but like I felt running wise, I went backwards, but like that growth of a person that I was becoming, I made leaps and bounds.
In what?
So Coach Barney, Dave,
Okay, go ahead. I was gonna say, in what ways can you kind of go into that?
hmm so Dave Barney is still the head coach at Paradise Valley, and he hosts that cross country camp that I went to my senior year, and so we learned a lot of team building there. And then throughout the whole season, he just instills in us like when we go out to eat, for example, we don't eat our food until everyone's been served. My food could be cold by the time, and there were times that happened. But it was like we were a brotherhood, we were a sisterhood. Like nobody was ahead of anybody. Like that was the type of like program that he ran. It was the type ship that he ran, and that was just like, how do you want to like go and move forward in this life and like be respected, because your word is your bond type of thing. And so again, running was like it seemed like it was on the back burner, even though he was on us, he was hounding us about running fast, and definitely was disappointed when we didn't show up. Um, but it was such character building like lessons. Like there's so many things I take now that so many quotes in my head that like I think about like when I'm running, in races or workouts, and I'm just like, wow, what an awesome person for me to like for like I was just so honored to be around that. But yeah, it was just like who do you want to be? How do you take care of your family? Just like things that really mattered. And then it was like running. So, but in turn, it was like if you could take care of that part of your life, then running would maybe come naturally, I guess.
Hmm.
But at the end of the day, like he was trying to make champions too. And so we had a lot of great runners, a lot of runners better than me at the team. And it was just all around just a really fun time. So, but yeah, junior college was a blast, and I went there for 2 years. I thought about taking a redshirt year, but I definitely wanted to save that for wherever I ended up
Yeah.
after that.
So,
So,
because uh, since it was junior college, with your coach, I find it interesting to invest so much into a team or athletes that you might only see for a couple years before they move on to somewhere else.
mhm.
Yeah, it seems pretty special person to be able to kind of lay that groundwork for athletes who you might not see the successful fruits of until they're past junior college.
It was like from day one. It was like June 1st hits, and we're training for cross country. If you're not with us, you're against us type of mentality. a little extreme maybe now that I think about it. But that was again, that was the tight program that he ran. And um, so yes, you're right. Like, seeing like maybe very minimal time with the like a 2-year program, but it felt like 5 or 6 years because of the amount of time from June 1st we were spending with our teammates. We were in the trenches, if you will, like training in Phoenix heat. I mean, 100 degrees sometimes, and triple digits. Like it
Wow.
was like suffering with your brothers and sisters, and we all lived together, in the same complex
Yeah.
or whatever it was, because we didn't have room and board, right? But yeah, again, it was just like really building that team bonding experience. Like one of my coach's favorite movies is Miracle. So the Miracle on Ice
Mm.
from the 1980 Olympic hockey team. And we watch that. Like I even watch that yearly now because it's like that's how much it's instilled in me. And like that's the program like he's trying to
Wow.
build. And he was a hard ass. Like how Coach Brooks was, he was that way with us. And I respect him because he never used like foul language.
Hmm.
Um, he belongs to he's LDS. He's a
Okay.
Mormon. He's a bishop of his church, and so I just like again, it was just so much respect for him, and like I was like, this guy has done it. He ran. He was a professional athlete. He ran on the USA cross country team with like Coach Istone. So like he knew that he'd been there. Like he ran track in Europe. Like he had run really fast times, and so it was just cool to like know that somebody could do that and then come and give that much of themselves. So it was just like a no-brainer to like for us to give that back to him.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're exactly right. Like a 2-year program, maybe you see your teammates, maybe you don't, but it was like, from day one we were
Wow.
together. From yeah,
I
from
mean,
day
that's got to
one.
be pretty unique
So
because I'm assuming in most, let's say D1 or T2 or like major schools, you're not really having that level of camaraderie from day one.
yeah, yeah, it was interesting. So he was the reason, Coach Barney is the reason I got into BYU.
Mm.
Um, he's the one who called up Coach Istone and was like, hey, I have an athlete here who I believe can make your team. He just hasn't really done it yet. And Coach Iceland's like, well, I can't really take somebody who like, and he's like, no, I just know he can run 30 minutes for the 10K. I just know it.
Whoa.
And Coach Iceland's like, all right, well, send him over my way, basically. Can't help him with the process of getting into the school, but if he gets accepted, then like, of course I'll have him. And so I just remember, really praying about it. And then, because I didn't want to go there, I definitely had uh, my doubts and my thoughts about,
Well, did you have
I was
like,
like,
I was
Mormon
going to say, did
Yeah.
school.
you have religious differences considering it's a
Yeah.
Mormon school?
Yeah, huge religious differences. I was like, I don't really want to be converted. Like, I just really ignorant comments that I was just having with myself,
Hmm.
I think, until I really finally gave it a chance. And then I loved my experience, obviously, but yeah, just like having a coach like vouch for you like that, because he was with me obviously my whole 2 years. He saw that how I ran. I didn't run great at all in junior college, and so yeah, it was just an interesting, again, very interesting experience. But the fact that he would just like kind of lay it on the line and lay it on the line for like a good school like that
Yeah.
was like, okay, that's all I needed to hear, and I got accepted, and then from there it was awesome, my time
Did
there.
you feel like you had a little bit of pressure to perform well just because you were given this opportunity by your coach?
Um, yes and no. So him and the family like drove me up to Provo, Utah from Arizona. Like I don't remember going like on a big trip like that. Like we all loaded up in his like 12 passenger van, and I had like all my bags in the back, and we drove up to Utah, and he kind of like laid out where everything was, and it was just a fun time. But it was like, man, I'm so blessed to have a coach like this, and so blessed to like be on, well, maybe be on a team, because I guess I was still kind of fighting, I think, to like make the team.
Hmm.
But I was so blessed for this opportunity. So whether it worked out or not, I was just like very fortunate. It's just like, well, I've come a long way, and this is where it ends, and this is like kind of where it ends. But at the same time, it was like I had some redemption, not to prove to anybody else, but it was like I know I could have a better career. I just don't know why I'm having it. Um, then we got blood work done at
Oh
BYU, and I
wow.
didn't know that was a thing, right? And my iron was like it was like below 20,
Oh,
and that's when
whoa.
it
Whoa.
was like boom,
Holy cow.
yeah, just I mean, placebo, I don't know, but like as soon as the trainer gave me iron pills, and it was like a wrap
That's
after that.
crazy.
And when I mean a wrap, it was like I just felt like myself again. I felt like that high school
Hmm.
me, feeling good running and like enjoying the sport again. So, and I was like actually doing semi okay. So, so
So were
yeah,
you just
it was a
like,
lot of fun. I
did you
mean,
feel really tired after like all the time or after workouts?
all the
Yeah.
time, all the time. I ran 120 miles in junior college my sophomore year.
Whoa.
Like our coach was the real deal. He built us up for that. We would do 120, 180, back to
Whoa.
120, 180. Like we did that for like 3 weeks, like 3 sets of that.
Okay.
And I just remember feeling so strong, and I was like, I don't care who you are, you're not beating me in like in the NJCAA. And then my first race, I'm like 50th, and I'm like, what's happening? But yeah, just tired all the time, and my nutrition wasn't great. Like I was feeding myself, but I just didn't understand
Yeah.
that level of the sport yet, and that level of what I really needed to feed myself and take care of my body. But yeah, like I remember making it to nationals in outdoor track, and it happened to be in Phoenix, Arizona. It happened to be on the high school track, sorry, on the junior college track where I won state, like in high school. And I was like, oh, this is a dream come true. Like I'm maybe gonna win my first national title. And I think I ran the 5K and 10K, but the 5K, I was like, I think I ran like 15 or 16 minutes
Oh.
for the 5K. And I was just done. I couldn't understand. I was like, oh,
Yeah.
I just kept blaming the heat. I was like, it's the heat. The heat got to me. I ran really poorly, but I just didn't know anything about iron. I didn't know anything about all
What's
that
like the
other stuff until
normal
we got
what's
blood.
the normal
Yeah.
iron score?
I mean, I know for me as a woman, I need to be like above 40, but I think it's much higher for men, right?
I should know this.
Yeah, I would assume it's like in the 60s
Okay.
now
Wow.
yeah. I mean, I'm not positive, but I mean, now my iron levels are great, but yeah, to be below 20 like was pretty scary. Um, and it just made so much sense. Like everything clicked after that. After that, like getting blood work done by a program that was legit, and then it was like, whoa, okay, this is going to be fun now, and it took me to my senior year to finally like blossom, into the athlete I wanted to be. So again, I had my turmoils and trials and challenges at BYU, but it was like at least it was fun doing it.
Yeah.
And I had a blast the whole time. So yeah.
That's awesome. When did you realize, it sounds like maybe in junior college, that you were a distance runner? I mean, you're putting in all those miles, but clearly distance running
Yeah.
is for you.
Yeah. I've always been told by my coaches from day one that I'm going to be a marathoner. So high school coach kind of implanting that in me, junior college coach with the high mileage, exactly. You can do better than distance events. And then Coach Eyestone just like, it was like they gave me to Coach Eyestone, and then Coach Eyestone like wrapped the bow on the
Yeah.
gift, and he was like, he just put it all together for me, and he was like, yeah, this is your future for sure. And then I started noticing it in our longer like 5 or 6 or 7 mile tempos we would do with the team. Always excel in those. I'd be like one of the top 7 athletes, in cross country, and then track rolled around, and I just I couldn't really hang on with the speed per se. Um, I just kind of get pummeled. Like I never made it to a regional meet in track ever. And that was really heartbreaking for me because I felt like I had the ability. I just didn't really know how to put it together yet. But then I do a workout like 2 days later, versus a speed workout, and like I would just kill it, according to Coach Icestone's standards. And so that was like, okay, I wasn't like buying my time to get out of the program and try a marathon, but I was just like, I know somehow this is going to pay off. All this speed I'm doing, all these strength workouts I'm doing, like his program is just going to work for me. And just kind of hope that it comes together when I'm ready to. So that's kind of like how it worked out. It was like just being told I was going to be a marathoner and eventually just doing one day. Yeah.
What was that marathon one day? What was your first one?
It was CIM. So that would have been, I decided post-collegiately to stay with iStone and the team and train with Jared Ward.
I was gonna
And
ask that.
I thought it was so
Yeah.
cool. Yeah, I thought it was so cool to like say that I was like Jared Ward's training partner. Like I thought that was the coolest thing. So that would have been 2017 December CIM, and I ran 216. Um, and after that, I was like, okay, I worked a full-time job, and that's when I found out about the Mammoth Track Club, and I was like, okay, they're like offering free housing, which means I don't have to work, which means I can like invest fully in running.
Mm.
And if I can run a 216, like shame on me if I don't give this my all right now. Because again, I had a coach who in high school was like telling me these great things and instilling in me like the person I could be, and then it was like I need to give this my all. Like if not for me, for him, for the people that have like come before me. And so like that's kind of like CIM was like just a real big eye opener. And I had really bad stomach issues. Uh, yeah, without getting too like I guess nasty, just like I decided to keep running through. And
Wait, what
I just
mile?
remember like
With what mile did you have
it
stomach issues at?
was like mile seven.
Oh,
I mean, it was early. And I know exactly what did it, I'm pretty sure. I took 2 weeks off from caffeine. And I was like, oh, I just like read that somewhere. I was like, oh, this will work
Oh
perfectly.
no.
I'll be like so stimulated during the race. And then I did coffee the morning of, and such a
Oh
bad,
yeah.
bad move on my end. But I decided, even though I didn't want to stop to use the porta potty, I instead went the other route. Like that just like proved to me that like if I can get it done in those situations, like circumstance, I think I
Yeah.
can. Um, I think I can take care of like most mental hard things that come my way.
You weren't wearing white
Yeah,
shorts that day,
my
were
late.
you?
No,
Yeah.
no, thank God. I was not. Yeah, I was not. Thankfully I was not. But yeah, I was. I mean, my inner thighs were all chafed. Like there was no skin on them.
mm.
Oh,
I mean,
dude.
I couldn't take a shower for a couple of days. Yeah, it was pretty bad.
Oh man.
What a race. But yeah, it was awesome. And then got introduced to Andrew Castor in the Mammoth Track Club, and was like, oh, I want to really pursue this now, not just be like 80% in.
Yeah.
So yeah, signed with them in 2018 and been here ever since. So it's again, what a journey it's been on. Like I've been on. It's just such a blessing. So
Was your transition from collegiate to pro? It sounded like you had a job in there, so it wasn't like immediately you're done with college and here's this pro contract. It was like you went into the real world for a little while.
yeah, I worked at a care center. I I want to devote my life to helping people, and I thought that that was like as nitty gritty as you can get when you're helping people with mental and physical disabilities, people who are will live the rest of their life to a wheelchair and can't even speak, and you have to bathe them, you have to you know just everyday life with them, and yeah, it's just like something that I knew was like my calling and still is, and so it was like I loved that aspect of like my life, and I loved running, but like I knew this always needed to be a part of my life. So I kept pursuing that caregiving job, and I just like I loved it. I loved every second. It was hard, right? It was mentally taxing, but like the reward that comes from it, like you can't top that. And so it was really hard actually leaving the running program and how great they were and BYU is, and then even leaving that job. So I think about my residents quite a bit still and just like the funny memories like we have with them. But I worked with a lot of patients that, had mental disabilities that I was like, well, I'm way in over my head, but these people just need love at the end of the day.
Wow.
So,
What what
but
made
yeah, that,
you
yeah.
what made you feel like you're called to do that kind of thing or wanted to do that in your life?
I think just the people that God has put in my life for sure. From my high school coach, um, and then my other high school coach who I haven't mentioned yet, his name is Tim Bentley. Like him taking over the team, kind of like my junior senior year, and just the way he treated us and the way he instilled in us, like being a good individual, being great. And then my junior college coach, like it all went back to that. Like it all somehow went back to what kind of person do I want to be and like what kind of like how do I want to like leave my impact on the world? And so that's kind of like that was like a big driving force for me. It was like, just showing people respect and compassion and just like love at
Mm.
the end of the day. Just like trying to spread that love. I mean, in at BYU, I finished junior year. I finished like 138th, I think, or 148th in cross country, and then senior year I was top 10. I was ninth.
Well,
I treated that like I won nationals. Like I threw my hands up in the air. I was the first finisher for BYU. Um, Jared Rotinsky at the time was like the next top finisher besides like me in a while that Coach Iceland's had in the top 10. And I just remember like that night it hit me. It was like I didn't gain like 100 extra followers. Like nobody was knocking on my hotel door. Like I didn't have like a full bed and breakfast when I woke up. Like that's when it hit me like, oh, I love this sport and I'm doing very well, but it doesn't define like who I am. And it like that moment will always like I'll remember that because it was like my work that I was doing with at the caregiving center I think is way more meaningful than getting ninth place at cross country. And I just like I from that moment on, I just developed like my why, um, on like why I run. Like it's much bigger than
yeah.
than me and like much bigger than my successes. But yeah, it was like a hard reality to come to. It was like, oh man, like no cute girls are down in the lobby, like I don't know, like it was just like nothing was gonna change. It was just like wow, what do I really want to go moving forward from here? Like, who do I want to be?
Yeah.
So yeah, that's kind of like my driving force, though, for a long-winded, long-winded answer.
Yeah. So how did that end up? So how do you tie those things together now? Kind of that aspect that you feel, whether it's giving back or charitable or kind of just like selfless aspect, um, combined with your running now.
When I joined the Meta Track Club. I was in a lot of turmoil my first 2 years. So I was like, what am I doing? Like, I'm running great. I improved upon my PR in the 10 mile and in the marathon under Coach Gaster, but I was like, I'm like sitting down off my feet, waiting for my second run, but like I'm not helping people. Like this is like kind of driving me nuts. Like I feel like I'm just kind of throwing away time, and then it's taken a while now, but like Indina Cast has really helped with this perspective, but just like the influence and the reach that I could have by running faster. Um, because that then allows me to have the conversation with people to say, hey, what you're doing is great. I hope you succeed in everything you do, but I hope you know that doesn't define like who you are. And that's the conversation I want to have with people. That's like my message I want to get out. When I'm running now, whether it's in practice or in races like the 15K, it was a no-brainer. When I was ordered to charge up the hill and break as many people as I can, it's because like what I've been through in my life, what I've seen, with my own family trauma, and just with other people's trauma, like that's the hard stuff. What I'm doing is a privilege, and yes, it is hard in the moment. Um, but if I can get through that part of my life, if I could be accepting and be okay with the fact that I never got to see my coach before he passed away in high school because I was so worried about running nationals and not traveling. Like those kind of moments stick with me and is like my driving force for like why I do things, and I don't want to be viewed as like a quitter. Um, in that sense, what I mean is like if I can succeed in running, if I commit to the move, if I push myself, if I get uncomfortable, I will learn valuable skills because one day I want to have a wife. One day I want to have kids. One day I want to have a community that I love. And I don't want to give up because I gave up in running. And that's just like how I view everything now. And it's been really profound for me because it's like Dina says, I get this opportunity, this beautiful opportunity to run and create this art with my running. And then people will like start to like, oh, I want to go talk to him. And I really just want to know, like, tell people this message that what you're doing is like much larger than you. Like, I even take it as deep as like how I wake up every morning affects somebody else. So, for example, if I wake up with an attitude and I don't want to get the day started, like that's going to affect somebody.
Oh man, now I'm
And
gonna
that's
think
like a
about that every
big,
morning. You're gonna,
I'm
I'm gonna be
sorry.
like, Nico's really got me thinking. I love that.
Yeah, by no means, yeah, is it perfect, but that's that's a big driving force, and now I just want to live out. I want to live out everything that I've been told, and I've people have believed in me. Like I just want to live that out,
Yeah.
as best as I can. And so,
I mean,
again, the 15K was great. Yeah,
oh, sorry. Do you see?
go ahead.
Do you
Sorry.
see when, or you probably see this in other athletes or other runners, where their identity is so tied into running, and maybe from a young age even, that it's almost the only thing. So that when they suffer losses or setbacks, it almost becomes like a world-ending event for them or something because there's no other purpose or meaning other than running. I don't know if you've seen that in other people before or not.
Yeah, I know I have, and it's happened with myself when I joined the team.
Mm,
I had like a streak where I was like, I think I'm ready to hang it up. I think it's about time. Like I ran 2:14 in the marathon. It's pretty good. Broke 47 minutes for 10 miles. Like I'm pretty happy. I think that's good. But I realized how much I was just like how much of my self-worth I was tying to my performances, and that's when I had to like break away from that, and really learned that that's just not what it is. That by no means like that's if you critically think about that, like it's just like your brain's way of just leading you down this like our brain wants to protect us. At the end of the day, that's what it's doing. But I think what we do is like we take that sometimes too much to heart. Um, and then we just go down this like rabbit hole. But yeah, you're right. Like I've seen athletes just like tied too much, and then those are the athletes that I think have the hardest time bouncing back.
mm-hmm.
Because it's so tied to like who they are. And it's like, no, running is what you do and is where you're very good at, but it's not who you are.
Mm,
Um, like who you are is much bigger. And if we can get that picture painted for you, then you're gonna blossom in every way.
yeah.
So yeah, again, yeah.
Okay, I know we just talked about how your running times aren't everything, but can we talk about some of your recent ones because they're super
Yes.
impressive?
Thank you.
Starting with the fall in Chicago, you run
Hmm.
a 1:13 and change for a
Hmm.
PR, and that was an insanely hot day. Were you like,
Yeah.
Yeah, you were there, right? Or,
yeah, we were filming. I wasn't running, but
yeah.
I was there, and
Oh, nice.
like that was not a PR day. Like, how did you do that?
Coach Castor, Dina Castor's the same way. I think everyone who comes to this program is pretty like on with this philosophy, but Andrew says the fitter you can get, the more you can kind of quote unquote like slice through that weather or slice through whatever circumstance maybe be out of your control. And so like the 20K, for example, when I was in a sprint finish with Bian Sabasa and Ben True, it was hot that day, but somehow like I that was kind of when it first hit me. It was like, oh, coach is right. Like the fitter you get in your like trained environment, like the more you can kind of work through those. Like fit is fit, basically is what he's trying to
Mm.
say. And so in Chicago, I remember like we had like um this meeting like in the hospitality suite to go over pace because some of the pacers wanted to slow down maybe, or they wanted to talk to the American athletes and say, hey, what do you want to do now? Because we realized it's not PR conditions. And they started throwing out times that were much slower than what I wanted. I just turned to Coach Castro and was like, we're sticking to the plan. Like I don't know why they want to mess around and dilly dally, but like we're here to run, we're here to run fast. Um, and so that's kind of like what I stuck to. And thankfully, Matt Yano stuck to the pace for as long as he could. And it was like the weather didn't affect you until you let it, I think, which was later in the race, to be honest. So, like, I remember feeling like $1 million coming through halfway, and I was still in
What were the
PR city.
what were the
So,
temperature? Was it like high 70s or
I think, yeah.
okay?
And super
up
humid.
into the 80s, I believe.
Wow.
Super humid, yeah. But it was just like I had these, like, blinders on. It was like 5 minute pace or under, if the pacer was doing that. So, obviously that didn't happen, but like by doing that, by setting myself up, I came with away with a great PR and I fought really hard. So yeah.
Do you almost feel like if the weather is really bad, you're at an advantage over everyone else with your mindset?
Yeah. It was terrible in Terre Haute, Indiana when I ran cross country and got ninth. It's cold. Um, but like I love that kind of stuff
Mm.
because it's like maybe some people are like, oh, it's not perfect, but it's like, oh, I live here. I've lived here and I continue to live here. So let's go,
I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wish I could have that mindset. I'm like checking the weather like every day, refreshing my weather app before a race, hoping for the best.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so let's talk about Gate River Run since that was
Yes.
recent and you just took the big W there. What was your goal heading into that?
I I didn't want to run it. I told Andrew if we could just scratch the race, I'll worry about Boston, and we just put all our eggs in that basket. I was coming off like a knee injury right after the half marathon championships in December,
Mm.
and we just stuck to uphill running, and it was like I like to see kind of what I'm doing, like mile markers, whatever. And coach was like, I just want you to run hard for 30 minutes uphill,
Wait, how
and the
does
next
that
week it'll be 40 minutes.
was that just on a treadmill or like how does that work?
We went down in altitude and we just ran up this like hill
Oh,
basically.
like
Like
just
you
a
have me start in this dirt.
half an hour straight up?
Well, yeah, and thankfully it wasn't too straight up. Like you could get a faster, like it
Okay.
definitely evened out, but there were definitely some hard paces. But it was all for the knee. It was all to take the pressure off the
Right,
knee and to
right.
take the pressure off myself. And so we did 3 weeks of that.
Wow.
We called it uphill running. I mean, it is what it was. And during those 3 weeks, I was like, yeah, I'm okay with not running the 15K. Like, I accept that reality. And what bothered me was I was accepting the fact that I didn't want to go get fixed and be able to look myself in the mirror and be like, oh, I came up short. And then it took me like a couple of days to realize, like, this again, like, this isn't what I'm running for. I'm not running for first place. Like, yes, I am. I want to be competitive. But if I'm really letting like a fifth or sixth or eighth place like hold me back from like doing this, like that's not a good enough excuse. I remember doing a fartlek workout. Again, there's really no criteria you can hold to that. Um, and so like I just remember doing this fartlek. I remember feeling good. I had no idea like I think we went 8 miles in terms of the fartlek, but like it's varying paces. And I was just like, you know what, Andrew, we're doing the 15K actually. Like I decided because like this is the person that I said I was going to be 5 years ago.
Mm.
Um, and then like the uphill running just like really blossomed and complemented my straight tempos, flat workouts, speed, like all that just really complemented together. And then I remember like sitting down in this couch with like Andrew, And he goes, I've been in this race multiple times. I will tell you exactly how to win it. You go up that hill and then you run for your dear life. And it scared me. And it was like, are you sure? Like, and he was like, no, I'm telling you right now, like, this is like what you do. And he said some colorful words that I won't repeat, but it was just like, wow, like he's telling me I can do it. And then but my training's not there. Like I just had all these doubts, and then I just decided, you know what? I'm gonna put my full faith in Andrew because he's never led me astray, and I'm just gonna go after what I want. And we just like when we did the uphill runs, it was thinking about the green monster. When we did anything, it was thinking about that move. Um, and then I remember like a couple of days before the race, I saw Galen Rupp had entered. It was a late ad, I'm pretty sure.
Ah, did not know that
And
part.
I remember, yeah, I remember going to Andrew and I was like, "Hey, Andrew, so should we switch the game plan?" Like,
He's
and
like,
he goes,
hell no.
"I'm not." Yeah, basically, he's like, "We're not flying 3,000 miles so that you can go get fifth." And it was just like, again, it solidified that conversation I had when my knee was still bummed up, like sitting on that couch going over our game plan for Boston. It was like, okay, I need to commit. If I don't like commit to this, again, it goes back to like, do I want to quit on myself and then like not instill that when I have a family, a wife, a kids, a community, or do I want to like really pursue like what it is I'm here to do?
Mhm.
So yeah, that was how 15K played out, and um, it was just all about that move. It was all about staying as comfortable as I could. Um, I'm a big Galen Rupp fan, so I like binge watch like all his YouTube videos and all his
Oh
like
wow.
interviews. And he talked about like how he lurks. He likes to lurk and stay comfortable, and then when it's time to make his big move, he does it. And it was so ironic because in the race he took the lead from
Huh.
like 5K on, and I was sitting back in 12th place going, man, this isn't like Galen at all. Like either we're along for a really fast race or like or something's just I don't know what's gonna happen, but like I'm ready for it. And I was like trying to lurk and trying to be like the next Galen, and I was like, wait, what am I doing in 12th place? Like Galen has clearly showed he wants to get uncomfortable early on, so surely I can come out of my little shell and be uncomfortable too. And then I moved up into like third or fourth place and stayed there until it was time to strike. So it was just kind of putting everyone else in my rearview mirror and going, not today. Like I'm not dealing with you today. It's just like I'm focusing on the guys that are up front. No disrespect to anybody else, but like I came here with the mission, and it's like if it's me and Galen coming up the hill, it's gonna be me and Galen going up the hill. Like whatever it ends up being, but like I know that I'm ready for this moment. So
We didn't get to watch the live coverage, so I don't know
mhm.
when did Galen drop and what did that do to you mentally, if anything?
So Colin Benny, he took the lead, I think, at around 7 miles. That's when Galen, it was like I was so like focused on my move that I was like, oh, Galen's taking a little breather, but he'll be back. And then it was like focus on Colin's back for the rest of the race because he's a really phenomenal runner. And so I was like, he's the real deal. Um, and so like I was just focused on his back and kind of didn't realize again, just putting everyone else like anybody I passed was now in my rearview mirror. Like it just was no looking back. It was just only looking forward. And so like again, Colin took that lead, and I was focused on his back. And then so I wasn't really too concerned with Galen or anybody at that moment. It was just like who was ahead of me, who could I like prey off of, and then is weird because like mile 7 was by far the hardest mentally and physically for me. Like it finally started to settle in, and I didn't know this because my body was really saving up for that charge it had to do, or if I was just like, oh, I actually am tired because I'm marathon training. I don't know which one it is, but I like had to like really quickly get rid of that thought and was like, okay, we're going. And I guess apparently I did move a little late, according to my coach. He wanted me to move just a little bit earlier, but it played out well. And um, I did exactly what he said. I ran 440 ish up the hill, and then I just ran for dear life. Um, and it was just like I don't know. I just imagine them being like 1 or 2 seconds behind me the whole time. Like I cringe at people who look at behind them in
Uh-huh.
races, I'm always yelling on TV, and there was me looking behind me like every, and I was like, yeah, I can't talk crap anymore on those people, because I know what they're going through finally. But it was run for my dear life. Once I crested the hill, and it was like, let's go for it, and so, after the race, people like Hillary Bloor and some other athletes were like, oh yeah, we thought we were going to catch you. Like, it's a really fast last downhill mile, and we just thought we were going to catch you. And I was like, huh, okay. So, like, you didn't really know who I was, and you didn't respect me. Like, this makes the win so much sweeter because of that.
Yeah.
So,
I love it.
um, and again, I don't do it for their respect, but it was
Yeah.
just like, okay. And then I kind of joked with Hillary Bohr, and I was like, so if I do this race next year and I go with like 3 miles out, you gonna go with me? And he goes, oh yeah, like I'm not letting you out of my sight. I was like, oh great, another guy to worry about.
And so was your knee okay after that, or like in between
Yeah,
then and now? Okay.
my yeah, my knee's been great. I'm doing a lot of strengthening with the PT, and it's been really good. I'm just like loading it the wrong way. So I'm trying to like teach my brain how
Gotcha.
to load it properly and not overload it. And so, mixed with the uphill running, mixed with my awesome training here in Mammoth, it just like that race was just so cool.
Nice.
But yeah, it was really nice to just finally solidify a national championship. My coach was there, my dad was there, so like
Oh,
that just
cool.
made it even better.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So next up for
yeah.
you is Boston Marathon, which
Hmm.
it's coming up quick here. Um, how are
Yeah.
you feeling about training? I mean, clearly it's going pretty well, but how are you feeling about race day, and are there any goals you can share with us?
Yeah, I'm feeling I get to this point in my training now where it's like I just want the gun to go off because I there comes a point in the race where you have to make decisions that nobody else can make, obviously, and we've all been there. And that's like the nitty-gritty I want to get into and make those decisions and like, so I'm like I guess in a way I'm anxious for that gun to go off and roll with the top pack, but definitely, top 10 at a world major is always the goal, and then just worrying about the people who are in front of me and chasing them down or running with them, whatever that takes. But that's kind of like what I, manifest doing and see myself doing is just whoever's up front is who I'm running with. So not putting anything else to their name or anything like that. So, but yeah, top 10 performance, just like Chicago. So that'd be a great takeaway.
I like that. You mentioned during the 15K that like some negative thoughts came in around mile 7 and you had to like
Hmm.
transition from that. Is there something that you do physically or mentally to like switch your brain off of that negative thought?
Yeah, so I've been working with like a mental wellness coach for like a little over a year now, and it's like those those thoughts are always going to come in, but it's how we add value to that. And then so it's like, as long as I don't put extra weight to that, and it's like, something Dina Castor shared with me. It was like, because at that point it was really hurting. It was like, oh my gosh, maybe I am, like, maybe I can't make this move. It was kind of the thoughts was like going on, and it was like Dina shared with me, and I remember something she shared was like, if you're running your best ability, like to your fullest potential on that day, it is supposed to hurt like every step of that way. Like Dina like remembers running some of her best races, and she's like, if I'm really hurting, like really, really hurting, then I know I'm running very fast. And like that person behind me is getting dusted, basically. And so that's kind of like what went through my head. It was like, okay, this is how it's supposed to feel. Like I'm okay. I will be okay. Like I've always crossed the finish line. That's the ironic thing is like your brain has a very funny way of protecting itself again, just saying like, oh, let's just slow down the pace a little
Mm-hmm.
bit. But it just wants to protect you, and you just kind of have to like override that and be like, no, this is actually what we train for.
Mm-hmm.
We don't train to be comfortable. So yeah, it was like it was that moment, and it was like Yeah, and because we had like 10 or 12 guys, I think, still with us, so it was a very large pack. I
Oh
was
wow.
I was like, how am I supposed to break all these amazing athletes? Like, how is that going to work? But luckily enough, it did, and so I was just thankful for that. But yeah, things like that, like this is supposed to hurt, like Boston. I don't necessarily have like cues or anything, but things that I know, like when things like that happen, when our protective mode brain kicks in, it's like think about things that you've done that you've accomplished before. And when I say accomplished, it doesn't mean like getting first place or getting that like top trophy. It just means crossing that finish line when you didn't think you could, or anything of that nature, like finishing that last rep when you thought you were just totally spent, but you somehow did it. And I go back to those moments because it's like, oh, I just proved to my brain that I can. So like, okay, let's be uncomfortable for 20 more minutes. It's gonna be okay,
Yeah.
type of thing. So
Yeah, I'm gonna need
yeah.
that. I'm gonna need that around Heartbreak Hill for sure.
Oh, nice. So you're running Boston too. That's
Yeah,
awesome.
I'll be way behind you, but I'll
Yeah.
be out there.
We'll see each other after the race, I'm sure. I hope at some point.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think I already know the answer, but what shoes will be on your feet race day?
2.0, the skies.
Oh,
Those
You
things have
got 'em?
been,
Sky 2.0s.
You got the twos?
yeah, yeah, yeah. I
Man.
got the twos. Those will be on my feet, and I'm stoked. I'm not like a super nerd about like the shoes. I don't know like what's different, but I just know they're fast,
Yeah.
and I just love them. ASICS has done such a good job. You can tell like just the integrity that they have with their products, and so I just fully trust it. And I'm just like, okay, I no longer feel that I'm at a disadvantage.
Mm-hmm.
I
Yeah.
just feel very confident.
Did you
Yeah.
run Gate River Run in the regular Sky, or is that also the Sky too?
The Sky Twos.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah,
I never heard that.
I've run 15K in the twos. I've run the half champs in the twos. So that was back in December. Yeah.
Nice.
They were pink then. Well, at least I got a pink version. So
Yeah.
totally different colors now. But they're still a great shoe.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I use the original Skies quite a bit actually for my all my training sessions, and those have been going really well. So the original Skies are just as good. So
Nice. Yeah, the original
yeah.
Sky is my favorite, my go-to shoe on race day for sure.
Oh, nice. Okay, that's a really good choice.
Yeah.
All right, we are almost to the hour mark here, so we just have a few end of podcast questions that we like to ask everyone. So let's dive into those.
Okay, great.
Headphones or no headphones when you're on a solo run?
Oh, headphones.
Yeah.
Easy. Yeah.
What are you
Yeah.
listening to?
Most recently, I have so my girlfriend made me a playlist, and gosh, of course, I forgot like all the artists on it now, but it's a mixture of like everything. Like I know Taylor Swift is on there, couple Taylor Swift songs.
I
Gosh,
get to
let's
do it.
see. Uh, yeah, just like a lot of songs that are like her style, and like I've learned. Well, I actually really like those songs, and some of them are like sad songs, but like I like feel empowered. It's really weird. But then like I do have a run playlist too that I'll switch back and forth from, and that's like I have like motivational podcasts on there, but like one of the most recent albums I've been really into is J. Cole's most recent album, and like he has such a spiritual journey, and so like that just I really relate with that, and so I'll just listen to that on repeat.
Nice.
So yeah, headphones, J. Cole.
As a Taylor Swift fan, I'm just going to assume you're always listening to Taylor Swift because that makes me happy.
Do you
Yeah,
have the?
yes.
Are you wearing right now the Jaybirds? Is that what you're wearing, or is it another?
These are the Beats. I think
Oh,
they're the
okay.
Beats Pro,
Gotcha.
as they just fall out of my
I
ear.
couldn't.
Um,
I couldn't tell from the
yeah, the
video.
Beats. I don't want to click this. I think it'll end the call, so I'm
Yeah,
just gonna leave
yeah.
that there.
It's
Yeah, I
okay.
think it's the Beats Pro.
Okay,
Yeah.
gotcha.
So,
Okay, what is your celebratory post-race meal or beverage? Or both?
well, beverage. It's any. So like, I'll get anything with a Coke as long as a Coca-Cola is involved, and like multiple. Like we're good.
Nice.
It could be cereal and Coke. I don't really care. Just like anything related to that.
Awesome.
I love it. Okay, and our final question, which I think I might also know the answer to. If you weren't a professional runner, what would you be doing?
You know, I've been telling people for a long time that I do want to become an occupational therapist. But I think at the end of the day, if that doesn't happen, if I don't go back to grad school, it's just, yeah, something that involves with me helping people on a very, very personal level. So something along that nature. You know, I hope that as I continue running, that'll kind of like be revealed to me, you know, towards the end of my career, whenever that is. So, but yeah, something
Cool.
like that.
I actually have one more question.
Go for it.
And you have to be honest about this. How close is my mustache to Jared Ward level? If you had to, I'm trying.
You gotta get
Get
closer.
a little
Show 'em.
closer. Yeah. You know what? Actually, that's a pretty good. So I'm gonna
I'll
use
take
a scale
that.
1 to 5. 1 being like not close, but 5 being pretty close. I'd put you at like a 4.5.
Hey,
Oh,
yep.
that's real good.
Putting that on the resume.
Nico said it.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
All right, we'll put that as your like quote for the
Yeah.
for the promo of the
Yeah.
podcast.
Dude, that's perfect. I'll take it.
Uh,
I'm excited to see Jared at Boston. It would be a fun time.
yeah, is he running Boston as well, or is he?
Yeah.
I didn't actually.
Dang, maybe I misspoke, but
He
I
might be.
think he is.
I actually
Yeah.
don't know. So yeah. Okay, cool. Yeah, that'd
Okay.
be great. It seems like he runs it
Yeah.
every year, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I feel like he normally does.
Yeah.
that'd be cool.
Yeah.
All right.
All right. Well, thank you so much for your time today. It was super fun to get to know you a little bit more. And I'm excited to meet you
Thank
in
you.
real life in a few weeks.
Yes.
And I'm super
Yes, thank you
disappointed
guys
I
so
can't
much.
meet you in real life in a few
Yeah.
weeks.
Robbie will cry. But
All right.
You know, I will talk to Andrew and see what we can do with the
Nice.
the
Mammoth
sweatshirt.
sweatshirts.
So
Oh yeah.
the Mammoth track club sweatshirt.
All right.
I'll
Cool.
just send him this podcast and he'll know what to do.
Yeah.
perfect.
Right
So,
on.
yeah.
All right.
All right.
So,
Thanks,
thank you
Nico.
guys so much.